From atop an elevated freeway in the greater Boston area, we spot a rather strange-looking sight off in the distance. A pre-war frigate that appears to be landlocked. How could this be? And perhaps more importantly, how long has it been sitting there? After jumping down from the freeway and making our way over to the frigate, we learn that this old ship has a name. The USS Constitution. Suddenly, a Mr. Handy named Lookout approaches us.
Scanning. Accessing pre-war records. Record found. 108th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Battalion. Ahoy there. 'Tis Providence, a member of the Congressional Army, is delivered to us in our hour of need.
I was in the Army, but what's the Congressional Army?
Standing orders, sir. Proclamation 3. All members of the U.S. Army are hereby members of the Congressional Army. The captain requests your presence on the bridge. At the Double Creek, sir.
With that, we begin the quest Last Voyage of the USS Constitution. In order to board the vessel, we have to go into the ruins of the Weatherby Savings and Loan Bank, up a rubble ramp followed by a narrow set of stairs, and then head south down a hallway, at the end of which we find a small hatchway leading up into the USS Constitution. There are a number of protectrons and machine gun turrets guarding the interior of the ship, but thankfully a voice comes over the intercom and orders them to stand down.
This is the captain speaking. We're taking on an Allied soldier. Clear the berth, disable defenses, make way.
An Allied soldier? What is he talking about? All we did was climb aboard a landlocked ship to explore and maybe walk away with some interesting loot. We're certainly not an Allied soldier to some kind of robot army, so what's going on? Speaking of loot, we're able to find a number of items and ammunition stashed away in crates aboard the USS Constitution, but since they're already owned, we'll leave them where they are and move on. At one point, we get confronted by yet another Protectron, the captain's first mate, but thanks to Curie and that mysterious voice coming through the intercom, the Protectron stands down.
This is the captain. This soldier is no intruder.
Requesting permission to use lethal force.
Whoa, easy there.
It is against your core programming to use lethal force against an invited guest. It is illegal.
Unable to comply.
Stand down. That's an order. And for God's sake, use the accent.
I, Captain, standing down.
There's a chemistry station to the northeast, and after turning around, we can talk to a nearly broken Mr. Handy named Bosun.
'Tis an honor to crew such a storied vessel. From the top deck, one can spot other robots from the Commonwealth, floating, listless, without purpose, but not us.
Alrighty then. There's a master-locked door to the north, and peering through a couple of small windows, we can see into what appears to be the captain's quarters. But where is the captain? Incidentally, we find him just moments later on the top deck of the USS Constitution. And not surprisingly, he's a robot just like the rest of his crew.
Captain Ironsides.
I'll have none of your lip, Mr. Navigator. Have the crow's nest scan 2 points off the port bow. Jump to it.
Aye, Captain.
Our soldier has arrived. I trust the first mate didn't give you too hard a time. Been too long since we've seen the Congressional Army.
Thanks for calling him off me.
The scan shows you have the proper number of appendages still, so all is well. I am Captain Ironsides, commander of the USS Constitution. You visit this fine vessel in trying times. Be calm these long years on her airy perch. Damn you, Weatherby Savings and Loan! I spit at you.
That's quite a predicament.
What vexes me most is my inability to assist in the war effort. My gun decks have naught but Morats and ne'er-do-wells as targets. Enough pleasantries. The Constitution has systems that need repairs to carry out its mission.
What war effort?
Against Communist China, of course. But if any Redcoats or Canadians sail nearby, I will give them a good thrashing, to be sure. To avenge the burning of our nation's capital would be a sweet victory indeed. Consult with the bosun and Mr. Navigator. They will relay your instructions. Dismissed.
As Captain Ironsides finishes his greeting, a gang of scavengers start attacking the ship from the streets below. Ironsides instructs us not to kill the scavengers, just to scare them off, which we can do by activating a circuit breaker to fire the ship's cannons. It's a bit odd how the captain of a ship would want to spare the lives of its attackers, but nevertheless, after the scavengers flee from the scene, we can head back down below deck and speak to Bosun.
Your very presence does this humble unit a great honor. My programming would find it amiss if I did not also interject. Long live the captain!
Do you often just interject, as you put it?
Indeed I do. I exclaim from exuberance, and not because I've been reprogrammed 5 times to wholeheartedly embrace these marvelous turns of phrase and anachronisms. My metal heart burns with a fierce love and affection for our captain. Huzzah!
Why were you reprogrammed? Was the captain involved?
I will confide this only as a cautionary tale. The captain requires all crew to speak in the proper idiom. We are the inheritors of a sacred tradition. There was a time I thought he was, well, balmy. With my new programming, I see his incalculable wisdom. Our last marine expedition valiantly returned with much-needed supplies, including replacement power cables, sir. Alas, with my severe lack of appendages, I find myself unequal to the task of repairing the cables myself.
Can't someone else repair it?
The rest of this crew is programmed for more martial pursuits, and they are, dare I say, useless in this endeavor. Oh, were I hale and hearty, but fate is a cruel mistress.
I'll get right on it.
My anxiety emulators are lightning by the microsecond. Once you have resolved this matter, I beseech you to return to me to accept my undying gratitude.
And with that, we set out to replace the ship's power cables, all of which are stored inside of 3 separate cable boxes throughout the ship. At each cable box, we are given the message, "The primary power cables powering many USS Constitution systems are badly frayed and damaged." We are then given the option of either doing nothing, installing the new power cables, or jury-rigging the system and salvaging the cables with 3 intelligence. I decided to simply replace the power cables in my playthrough, and then promptly return to Bosun, who didn't hesitate to give us yet another chore to do.
Power courses through the Constitution's veins again. Her systems, long starved, flicker to life. A hearty congratulations. Huzzah! However, this has brought to light further failures in our power grid. The power relay, to my shame, I previously complained about, is fluctuating wildly.
Why are you ashamed of that?
Bad for morale, sir. There were dark times when I made all manner of baseless complaints against the captain, the manner in which his ship is run, and the plausibility of our sacred mission. But now, I see the error of my ways, and with your help, perhaps I can atone. Power relay coils are a common enough part. Might I recommend checking the local shopkeepers? Surely, they would be of some assistance. Fair winds and following seas.
Seems like Captain Ironsides was able to gain the respect of his crew not by being an honorable leader, but by simply reprogramming those that were critical of him. Regardless, we can find the power relay box attached to the western wall of the ship, a mere few steps away from Bosun. A series of power relays distributes power to all ship systems. The voltage is highly erratic because one of the power relay coils is badly corroded. Power relay coils are relatively common and can probably be found in many salvage shops. A sufficiently skilled repairman may be able to repair the coil. If we have 5 intelligence, we can repair the damaged coil ourselves, but in my playthrough, I just decided to install a new one. With power now flowing through the USS Constitution, we can return yet again to Bosun, who refers us to another Mr. Handy named Mr. Navigator.
Hey, Bosun.
Power flows far and steady. I would applaud you. Alas, I cannot, due to my lack of clapping instruments. But huzzah, sir, huzzah!
So no more problems with the power?
Area 1. It flows like a veritable torrent through our cables. If I may say so, the surgeon would be proud. I require no further assistance. But our Mr. Navigator is also beset by troubles. Scuttle buddies, our guidance system is on her last legs. If you've not already, speak to him. Fare thee well.
As we make our way down to the exit of the ship towards Mr. Navigator, we wonder, what exactly is it that we're powering up? This is a vessel from the 18th century that ran on wind power. What is it that Captain Ironsides and his crew are planning on doing? We find Mr. Navigator near the narrow stairway inside of the Weatherby Savings and Loan Bank.
Ahoy, soldier! Scavenger threat eliminated. Damage assessment will commence after this unit has completed scheduled duties.
Why did the scavengers attack?
Scavengers have attacked ship 17 times. Destroyed 13% of ship's systems. Stole 5% of ship's store. Logic error. Captain's orders authorize scavenger termination only if necessary to preserve the ship.
If they've attacked you 17 times, why don't you fight back?
This unit suggests Captain's core processes in need of extensive maintenance. Guidance system offline. Multiple errors diagnosed. First error. Guidance chip stolen. This unit requires its return.
Who stole your guidance chip?
Guidance chip is one entry on the list of stolen items. Reclaim chip at Scavenger's forward recon station. Captain has approved a bounty for its return.
Lethal force is prohibited unless absolutely necessary.
Aft dinghy unlocked and available for your use, sir.
So it seems like these scavenger attacks are pretty common, and on a few occasions they've even been successful. This makes plenty of sense. If you were trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, one of the first places you'd check for supplies is a massive landlocked ship towering above the surrounding buildings of Greater Boston. With clear instructions to set out into the night and retrieve the guidance chip for the USS Constitution, we can exit Weatherby Savings and Loan and head northwest through the remains of a pre-war building, on the other side of which we find a small group of scavengers. Among them is a woman named Mindy Stiles.
Don't shoot! Those assholes didn't attack the ship on our orders. They weren't trying to frag ya anyhow. They just wanted to kill the frickin' robots.
So some of your guys almost got me killed.
We told those crazy assholes not to attack. It's not our fault, all right? When they saw you waltz right into the Constitution, they just went ballistic. How did you get aboard anyway? We thought you were gonna get cratered for sure.
Does it really matter how I got aboard?
Fine, don't tell me. But you gotta look inside, right? All that salvage, the real motherlode, just waiting to be stripped and sold.
So it all boils down to greed. Like it always does.
Hey, if we sell those gizmos, I don't know, they could help orphans and stuff. Us humans could use it a lot more than those robots. So you talked with a tin can. What'd he have to say?
Your men took something from him. He wants it back.
Well, that's too bad. It's our salvage now. You know what he needs it for? His rockets. The huge goddamn rockets on the side of his boat. He's nuts.
Rockets? Why is he building rockets?
Who knows? Maybe a bomb. Maybe he'll launch himself into space. Who cares? It's valuable as hell. That's what matters. Screw that robot and come work with us. There's dozens more of us nearby. It's only a matter of time before we come out on top.
I'm not splitting my share with him.
You holding out on us, Davies? You got some magical way in there? This guy's got a free ticket aboard, so shut up. Help us destroy that fricking tin can once and for all.
We are then given the choice between continuing to help Ironsides power up the USS Constitution, or siding with the scavengers to rob Ironsides and his crew of everything they've got. If we choose the latter, then the quest ends with us sabotaging the ship and helping the scavengers take down the robot army aboard the USS Constitution. But since I was curious to know what Ironsides planned to do once the ship had restored full functionality, I decided to side with him.
No deal. I'm with Ironsides.
Then screw you, asshole. You're lucky we don't gun you down.
It would be better for all of us if you just leave.
Ignoring the scavengers' warning, we head inside of their base of operations and find the guidance chip inside of a filing cabinet to the west. But the second we take it, the scavengers become hostile, forcing us to fight our way out.
I'm gonna find you and
Let's do this!
Now that the guidance chip is safely in our possession, we can head back to the USS Constitution, make our way up to the top deck, and install the chip into the vessel's core guidance system. With the rain beginning to fall, we can inform Mr. Navigator that the guidance chip has been successfully installed. Not surprisingly, he gives us yet another chore to complete.
Hey, Navigator.
Ahoy, soldier. Chip recovered. Dispensing bounty. Diagnostics report. 1 error remaining. Guidance radar's transmitter is not functional. Requires replacement.
What's wrong with the transmitter?
Diagnostic inconclusive. No functioning Mr. Handy's available for detailed analysis. Acquire Poseidon radar transmitter at specified map coordinates. Further bounty will be dispensed upon completion, sir.
With that, we can return to Weatherby Savings and Loan and then fast travel all the way towards the western edge of the map to Poseidon Reservoir. There's a radiation storm brewing when we arrive, and before we even have a chance to enter the building, we get attacked by feral ghouls. Hoping to give our trusty combat shotgun a break, we can head inside but immediately get attacked by more feral ghouls. When we finally get rewarded with a few moments of peace, we realize that there are a couple of different paths for us to take. We can head southeast up a few steps and onto a catwalk, or we can go southwest down to the ground floor. We'll explore both in a moment, but first we can access a terminal in a small room adjacent to the building's entrance. A log entry titled "Bring Your Kids to Work Day" from October 22nd, 2077 reads, "Reminder that tomorrow is Bring Your Kid to Work Day. Although it's against protocol to bring children into the plant, we've decided this year we will allow 2 children at a time for a quick tour. If you'd like to participate, there is a sign-up sheet near the front door. We will have chaperones outside to help with those that want the tour but have more than 2 kids. As always, be safe. Signed, Management." We know that the bomb struck Massachusetts at 9:47 a.m. on October 23, 2077, meaning dozens of children and their parents died here on that fateful morning. Could it be that the ghouls that attacked us outside were the chaperones? After selecting the second and third logs on the list, we learn that the reservoir pumping station was automatically shut down on the day that the bombs dropped, and that the database network is currently offline. Also inside of this room is an armor workbench against the wall to the southeast, and the skeletal remains of a woman lying on the floor behind a desk. There is a carton of cigarettes and a single pack of cigarettes resting on top of the desk, and on a shelf along the northwestern wall we find yet another carton of cigarettes. After looting a novice-locked first aid kit, we can make our way out of the office and down a set of stairs to the lower level. Passing through a blown-out doorway, we once again get attacked by several feral ghouls. Other than a weapons workbench, a wooden crate containing some purified water, and a bolt-action rifle, this room has little to offer in terms of loot, so we can continue onward to explore the rest of the lower level. On a desk to the northeast, we find a novice-locked tool case that we can loot, a camera, and a bottle of Nuka-Cola on a shelf above. There's also a toolbox that we can loot, and on the opposite end of the room to the southeast is a locked set of double doors, with a feral ghoul on the opposite end just waiting to attack. But how do we get through? There's no terminal next to the doors, but since there's no option to pick a lock, we can assume that it must be powered electronically. Maybe if we go back up the stairs and use the terminal again, aha! There's an option to access the security door controls. Sure enough, after selecting open door, the double doors swing open, and out walks the feral ghoul we saw earlier. After taking the ghoul out, we can head southeast past a bathroom on our right and down a short hallway where we find even more ghouls and a glowing one at the bottom of a set of stairs. Heading down the stairs into a pool of ankle-deep water, we can turn northeast where we find a chemistry station next to an unlocked steamer trunk. Inside, we find what we're looking for, the Poseidon radar transmitter. After looting the trunk and a master-locked safe sitting on a small end table next to it, we can head back towards the entrance and explore the catwalk before we leave. Other than some mentats, some dandy boy apples, and some other miscellaneous items, there really isn't anything of interest on the upper level, so we can exit the building and fast travel east back to the USS Constitution. There's another radiation storm brewing as we make our way up to the top deck and over to the ship's guidance radar. This is the guidance system, which was salvaged from a Coast Guard vessel. Practically all of its components have been repaired or replaced. The only broken component is a burned-out Poseidon radar transmitter. It's a rare part that's only used in Poseidon facilities. A master repairman may be able to repair the dead transmitter. After selecting Install a new Poseidon radar transmitter, we are given the message, you remove the burned out radar transmitter and replace it with the new one you found. After a moment, LEDs flicker to life, and the radar system reports it is fully operational. With the radar transmitter successfully installed, we can turn to speak with Mr. Navigator, who rewards us with 250 caps and then instructs us to report to Captain Ironsides.
Hey, Navigator.
Ahoy, soldier. Guidance system fully functioning. Bounty dispensed. It is required you commence dialogue with the captain, sir.
You've been of service to our noble vessel. Despite ample provocation, I had hoped the guidance chip could be recovered without violence to the scavengers. Even now, they plot their retaliation.
Why did you want me to spare the scavengers?
I confess they are a blight upon my existence. Those scallywags killed many of my Marines. We're down to a skeleton crew due to that filth. But they are citizens of the Commonwealth. Citizens we're pledged to protect against foreign incursion. Which is not without its irony. I find I must reward your considerable efforts with the final labor. We stand but a hair's breadth away from embarking on our sacred mission.
So, now can you tell me what's going on?
Complete this task and I will gladly relate our mission. Until then, silence, vigilance. The ship requires turbo pump bearings from a nearby factory. It will undoubtedly be a dangerous mission, but I have faith you will succeed.
For accepting the quest, we are given the key to the captain's quarters, giving us access to the room that we saw through the small windows not long after boarding the ship for the first time. We now have to travel back out into the Commonwealth and retrieve the turbo pump bearings. which Captain Ironsides says is one of the last things the USS Constitution needs before it becomes fully functional. But still, we're left wondering, what is it that he's planning to do? And why is he being so secretive about his intentions? The only way to find out, it seems, is if we fast travel northwest to the Corvega assembly plant and bring Ironsides back the part that he needs. Upon our arrival, we can see why Ironsides said that this would be a particularly dangerous mission. The entire plant is swarming with raiders. With many of the raiders firing at us from high up on top of the factory, we have no choice but to rush inside to safety. The Corvega assembly plant appears to be divided into two sections, one to the west that we'll call Section A, and another to the east that we'll call Section B. We'll start by heading into Section A to have a look around. Traveling west, we find a shelf with some Abraxo cleaner and a hammer, and after following a catwalk across towards the northern end of Section A, we can loot a wooden crate containing some Radaway and a novice lock tool case. I decided to turn on my light for better visibility, but that proved to be a grave mistake. The raiders have become suspicious. We'd better take them out while we still have the high ground.
Shit's got ambush all over it.
We can then jump down to a lower level and finish the job.
Oh, I know you're here. There you are!
After heading south down a set of stairs and looting the raiders, we realize that we've descended into some kind of manufacturing room, with several conveyor belts littered with gears and other machine parts. There's a power armor station against the northern wall, which I decided to take advantage of before continuing on. Underneath the stairs to the northeast, we find a small room which looks to be serving as the raiders' living room. But with not much in the way of loot, we can head back up the stairs and then travel east into Section B. As we scan the room trying to determine which way to go, we get ambushed by more raiders, forcing us to take defensive action. Our compass indicates that there are 2 more raiders in the area, but we're not quite sure where. A machine gun turret opens fire on us after we begin making our way down the stairs, and immediately after we blow the turret to pieces, a raider charges through a set of double doors to the southeast. Climbing another small staircase to the north and then passing through a door against the eastern wall, we can finally confront the raiders that have been hiding from us all this time. Continuing forward, we realize that there are a number of different paths for us to take, but first we can turn back and explore the room that had the machine gun turret mounted inside of it. There's a couple of destroyed terminals in the center of the room, but on a desk right next to where the machine gun turret was mounted before we blew it away, we find Gristle's terminal. Took down another caravan today. Hell yeah, that makes 3 in 1 month. To top it off, Freddy came by with the good news that another caravan is headed our way. Says he spotted some guards, but it's mostly civilians. They even got an old broad dressed like a fortune teller and some joker in a cowboy hat. Gonna ask Jared for more men to take this caravan down. That fucking hat is mine. It sounds like these raiders would routinely go out into the Commonwealth and steal from the caravans. This must be how they've been able to survive inside of the Corvega assembly plant for so long. But what did Gristle mean when he mentioned the Joker in a cowboy hat? Was he referring to Preston Garvey? In the southwest corner of the room, there's a master-locked security gate with an explosives box inside, which contains a fragmentation grenade and a Molotov cocktail. Next to the crate is a duffel bag with some more loot and 3 ammo boxes on top of a couple of wooden crates. Heading back into the main room of Section B, we can travel south through the set of double doors that the raider rushed through earlier. There's a set of stairs leading upwards to the east, and 2 more sets of stairs at the end of the hallway, one of which leads down and the other leading up. After looting some rat away from inside a cooler, we can head down the stairs at the very end of the hallway. After passing through a set of double doors, we find ourselves in yet another chamber. There's a door with an exit sign above it to the north, and after taking out a machine gun turret, we find a rather strange scene inside of a pre-war refrigerator. 2 skulls, and the upper torso of something that doesn't appear to be human. Someone was obviously trying to preserve these body parts before the bombs dropped. But who? And for what purpose? I'm honestly not sure how to explain this one, but if you know the answer, let me know in the comments below. Heading back up the stairs to the hallway, we can turn to the east and then climb up another 4 flights of stairs into what appears to be one of the assembly plant's main manufacturing chambers. There's a novice-locked terminal on one of the room's support beams, which we can hack into and use to activate a nearby Protectron. After trying to talk to it to see if we can find any more information about the Corvega assembly plant, our compass indicates that there are more enemies nearby. We'd better stay alert. Traveling up some stairs to the south, we can take out a couple of machine gun turrets firing at us from the other side of the room, and then press a button to extend the catwalk. After taking just a few steps to the northwest, we spot a raider searching for us below.
Where'd that little fucker go? Ah, tough guy. Come on!
He never even knew what hit him. Inside of what appears to be the office of the person in charge of overseeing the assembly floor, we find a steamer trunk. Inside is the FLL-3 turbopump bearings, the last piece that Captain Ironsides needs for the USS Constitution. On a desk is a copy of Grognek the Barbarian, and next to that is Jared's terminal. The first entry, titled Setting Up Shop, reads, "Gunfire's finally quieted down. Suppose that means either Lonnie and Gristle wiped up the last of the ghouls, or they're currently serving as someone's meal. But now Lexington is secure, I can finally get to work." And get to work? What exactly was Jared working on? The second entry, titled Stumped, reads, "Nothing is working. The old woman, she used to just huff some jet, pop some pills. Then she'd start babbling, spouting vision after vision, and they all turned out to be true. The raiders burning the town, killing the parents, stealing the kids, stealing me. I remember the look in her eyes when she saw my fate. Kid, you're gonna be a monster. All true. If I could get that sort of power, that sight, the Commonwealth, the other gangs, no one would have a prayer. Maybe I need to try upping the dosages. I'm gonna need another bucket." Now we can see what Jared was trying to do. He was attempting to use chems to unlock some kind of fortune-telling ability, which he apparently first witnessed from an old woman who predicted correctly that he would one day become a monster. The third log, titled Subjects, reads, "It's not the chems. They're just a trigger for the site. It's me, I'm the problem. Wish I'd realized it before my arms looked like pincushions, but at least it's a new lead. I need subjects." So Jared realized that no matter how many chems he took, he would not be able to learn this sight ability. Therefore, he began searching for subjects to do the testing on instead. Next, Jared wrote, "Still no successes, but the rumor of free chems has brought plenty of new recruits. Ranks are nearly back up to where they were before we cleared out Lexington. Lonnie thinks it's a waste of time, says we need to spend our time building up our defenses. But Lonnie doesn't make the decisions. I do. She does seem to be enjoying her new position, though. Maybe another dose of Psycho will get her visions firing." In order to get his test subjects to the Corvega assembly plant, Jared started letting everyone in the Commonwealth know that he was giving away free chems. It's an act of evil, really. Genius, but evil. Finally, in the log titled She's Here, Jared wrote, "Gristle says there's a caravan headed this way. Some joker in a cowboy hat with a laser musket. 3 civilians and 1 frail old woman dressed like a fortune teller. It's her, I know it's her. I sent Gristle to collect her. I wonder if she'll recognize me. Of course she will. She saw this coming, after all. Obviously, the Joker in a cowboy hat with a laser musket that Jared was referring to is none other than Preston Garvey. As for the frail old woman dressed like a fortune teller, this is a reference to Mama Murphy, the chem-addicted fortune teller that travels with Preston Garvey and his group of settlers throughout the Commonwealth. Mama Murphy uses chems to give herself the ability to predict the future, meaning that she must have been the one that predicted that Jared would become a monster in the years to come. It seems as though Jared had planned on kidnapping Mama Murphy to learn this supernatural power, but unfortunately for him, it never exactly worked out. In any event, now that we have the turbo pump bearings, we can start looking for the exit. And what better way to find the assembly plant's exit than by heading through the door with the exit sign that we saw earlier. Once inside, we can follow a tunnel to the east and then head down a set of stairs, at which point we see a couple of feral ghouls up ahead. Thankfully, a machine gun turret took care of them before they were able to cause any trouble. Continuing north and disarming the chain chimes as we progress, we eventually find ourselves in a small, dark chamber, with water leaking from the pipes above our head. To the northeast are a couple of tool cases and an ammo box, and on the northern wall we find Lonnie's terminal. The first entry, titled Lexington, says, "Lexington is ours. Fuck yeah. Wiped out the ghoul swarm without losing anybody. Jared is setting us up in the big car factory for now." Next, Lonnie writes, "Swept through town again today. Gristle and I each took teams and flushed some of the ghoul stragglers out of a block of apartments. Already got my eye on a nice one at the top of the building. Been wanting a place with a view for a while now." In the third log entry, Lonnie begins to vent about how frustrating it is to work with Jared, who, as we know, was completely focused on learning to see into the future. "I've asked Jared for another turret down here. He says he's working on it, but ain't convinced he ain't just blowing me off so he can get back to playing with his chems. We need another turret. This pipe access into Lexington has been great for us so far, but if we don't defend it properly, it might as well be an open invitation for anyone looking to get in." Pipe access into Lexington. Is there some kind of a secret passageway nearby that will lead us back out into the Commonwealth? In the fourth log, titled Drinking Party, Lonnie wrote, "Gristle and the boys almost got us killed the other day drinking down here, making all sorts of noises. Luckily the boys can hold their liquor and were able to still shoot straight." Finally, Lonnie's frustration with Jared seems to reach its peak in the fifth log, which reads, "Still haven't gotten our other turret down here. Jared needs to get his head out of his ass. He's been pouring way too much time and caps into trying to figure out this site thing, when what we need to be doing is securing this place. I'm going to go talk to him. Gristle says I'm just going to make him mad, but someone has to make him see reason." Now we know the full story of Corvega Assembly Plant. Jared and his team successfully cleared out the area, but their plans to secure the building were ultimately interrupted because of Jared's obsession with learning the site ability. They wanted to keep the monsters out, but what they didn't realize was that the scariest monster of all had been with them the whole time. After going through a hole in the wall to the northwest, we find the secret tunnel that Lonnie was referring to, and are able to make our way back out into the Commonwealth. After taking out a few more raiders that were shooting at us from the top of the factory, we can fast travel back to the USS Constitution, head inside of the captain's quarters using the key that Ironsides gave us earlier, and install the FLL3 turbo pump bearings. Once we've done that, we can head back to the top deck and speak to Captain Ironsides.
"Trim the power on the starboard bow. Steady as she goes, Mr. Navigator. Luck willing, at long last we'll set sail. And our hero of the hour is to thank. You've earned a double share, sir. Well done."
Set sail?
On the eve of our voyage, the need for secrecy is long past. Our twin NX-42 rockets will alight and unmoor us from this dreaded savings and loan. The Constitution will launch into the heavens, and after, gently land in the ocean. Then we take our rightful place as defenders of the Atlantic.
That's ambitious.
As they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Mr. Navigator, put her through her paces. We need to... Those motherless curs! Prepare to broadside.
Before Ironsides has a chance to instruct his crew to power up the vessel, we get attacked by another army of scavengers, forcing us to engage in what turns out to be an all-out assault on the USS Constitution. The scavengers are able to make it on board the ship, but after a long gunfight and several fatalities on both sides, we're able to stop them in their tracks.
The boarders are repelled. All hands, prepare ship for launch.
I'll be going then.
There is one thing. We need power from the auxiliary generator to commence our voyage. I fear I must call upon you one last time.
I've come this far.
I recognize that without your considerable efforts, we would not be here. Here is your amply deserved reward. Godspeed to you, sir.
After reporting back to Ironsides, we are rewarded with a unique-looking weapon called the Broadside, which takes cannonballs as ammunition and deals 183 damage. While this is fairly significant, the gun's accuracy isn't the best, and its fire rate is extremely low, making it a gun that is best used only in unique situations. With the scavengers on the run and all of the required parts installed in their proper devices, the only thing left to do is power up the ship's auxiliary power. Thankfully, all this requires us to do is climb to the top of a nearby building, flip the switch on a circuit breaker, and then watch.
Power nominal. Excellent. Commencing final countdown. 3, 2, 1. Mr. Navigator, light the engines. Dreaded savings and loan, we shall be moored no longer. We are away. 2 points to starboard. Yes, yes. We did it! Victory at last! Helm reports we are a quarter fathom closer to the Atlantic. By my calculations, in a mere century we will take to the ocean. Well done.
Well, Captain Ironsides, you tried. Granted, you only made it a few hundred feet and crashed into yet another building, but you tried. Maybe after another century, you'll finally be able to land the USS Constitution in the Atlantic where it belongs. But in the meantime, it looks like you'll just have to enjoy the view. I personally enjoyed this quest, but if I had to be critical of anything, it would be the fact that at times, it seemed a bit repetitive. I wish that Bethesda had found a way to mix it up a bit more rather than simply having us go out into the Commonwealth, find a piece for the ship, return to Captain Ironsides, and then repeat. What was truly unique was the ending. Only in the Fallout universe could you watch an 18th century naval ship take to the air under the control of a robot crew and then crash into the top of a Boston skyscraper. As a self-described history geek, I love quests that feature relics of the past like the USS Constitution, and seeing what they look like centuries down the road in the Fallout universe. That being said, I enjoyed simply stepping foot onto the ship and being able to look around, even if it was inside of a video game set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. But I'd love to know what you think, folks. Did you work with Captain Ironsides and his crew like I did? Or did you choose to side with the scavengers instead? What did you think of Jared and his bizarre experiments at the Corvega assembly plant? Was he truly on the cusp of discovering how to see into the future? Or was he just a drug-addicted lunatic that was hungry for power? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, click on the thumbs up icon below to show your support. Or better yet, subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all of my latest content. I post new videos on Fallout 4 every single Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, so be sure to check back next week for more Fallout lore, commentary, and analysis. For those who are fans of the Elder Scrolls, I also post lore videos on Skyrim every single Friday, so be sure to check those out as well. But that's all for now, folks. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.